Since persons are preparing to come to the mic, my first question. Oh, Brother Austin, you're there. Oh, Brother Crony, you're ready. Go ahead.
Good evening. There are many different forms of exercise. You can lift weights and pull strands and so on. You can ride a bicycle. You can do gardening. You can run or jog. But I know that the servant of the Lord has said that walking wherever possible is one of the best forms of exercise. What I want to find out this evening is why would she make a statement like that? What is so unique or special about walking? Not that you shouldn't lift weights or cycle, but she says that wherever possible, it is the best form of exercise. So what is so special about walking?
Okay, I'll address that question short. Walking puts the least amount of stress on the joints when compared to any other form of exercising. When you lift weights, there's a lot of pressure on the joints and the tendons and such like. When you run, as I remember I used to have a knee problem. Dr. Duggan told me that every time I run, it is my weight multiplied by X amount of times on the particular joint. And that's what causes my knee to hurt. But walking is very gentle on the joints. The only thing that's more gentle than walking probably might be swimming because they're actually floating in water. But that's the reason why I figure she says that, because it is less pressure, less strain, less of everything on all the joints and the muscle tissue. But oftentimes we see people going to walk on mornings and going to walk on evenings, and they have an umbrella that they're expecting rain. They're walking and looking in everybody's garden. They're taking a nice stroll with a towel on their shoulder, like I see some people doing at our church. And they're not breaking a sweat. I don't think when she's speaking about exercise when it comes to walking, and she's talking about a leisurely stroll, but I think she's talking about exercise as Jesus would when he's walking from one village to the next. It was fairly brisk. It will break a sweat. Your heart rate increases. And scientists are showing us that that form of exercise decreases the chance of brain shrinkage, because as you get older, your brain shrinks. So that form of exercise is least injurious on the body.
Then also it involves the use of all the limbs. And then also, as one researcher says, there are nerve endings at the bottom of the feet connected to most organs and goes right around the body. So when you stimulate those nerve endings, you kind of stimulate the organs and the other, and it facilitates circulation as well.
Does that answer your question, Brother Crony? Okay. Next person. All right, well, just let me ask Sister Carmita. In terms of behavioral change, we know that it can happen across the lifespan, but is there any particular age that it is easier, or should I say that is more difficult? We know that there's the adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So, or bend the tree while it's young. And so one might tend to think that there is a particular age or stage that change is more effective. Is that so? And could you expand?
I don't know if you could say that change, but there's, the Catholics would tell you, give me a child between 1 and 7, and they'll be a Catholic all my life. Because when you look at the brain, if you study the brain of a child compared to adolescent, compared to adults, etc., the child between they say basically between 3 and 7 years old have the most neurons, or what we call brain cells. And therefore, they have the capacity to learn a lot. But it doesn't necessarily mean change, but yet you can guide them. But the important thing about change is, as I mentioned, wanting to change, that's the first point, and having the self-efficacy or thinking that you have the ability to make that change. So at any stage of your life, as long as you see the need to change and you have the self-efficacy, then you can make that change. But again, between 3 and 7 years old, you have the greatest capacity for learning, and therefore that is the time when we have to channel the children in the correct direction on the path to health and to change.
Change poses a problem with many people. And just a comment here on change. Change poses a problem with many people because sometimes it puts them in the realm of uncertainty. And anytime there's change and you are not involved in the process of the change, you usually hesitate to make that change. But change also involves pain. And that's a word we don't like, pain. Change involves pain. If you're going to be exercising, you're going to get some pain. But that pain is a good sign. It is the sign of the body, according to the spirit of prophecy, seeking to restore life where there was death before. So it's a good sign. Even fever, as bad as fever may be, it's also a sign the body is fighting, trying to fight off an infection or some disease. But change is welcomed when we see the desired results that we want occurring.
Yes, I see Brother Peter in the back with the mic.
Yes, yes, when you talking about walking just now, I want to know about these Chinese that really high-tech in learning and so forth. And I know Tai Chi originated from China, I feel so. But I want to know, is only walking that is only acceptable, or how about Tai Chi and these long-living Chinese that live long, and just doing Tai Chi and doing everything like that there? I want to know about that exercise also too. I want to know if that also, he just talked about just now, Steve, about vigorous exercise, about walking and sweating and so forth. And these people bring about Tai Chi. And these people live long as ever.
I've read about Tai Chi. When I was in the little room over here, the vestry preparing, an article came up as I was looking through. I subscribe to a website called drmercola.com, and he discusses a lot of these different things. And he discusses Tai Chi and a lot of these oriental ways of exercising. And one thing came up, and it said that although they are beneficial in themselves in terms of relaxing oneself and making you feel at peace and such, like, they do not address problems like asthma and other diseases which only respond to vigorous exercise in terms of causing the lungs to stretch, in terms of causing the heart rate to increase. So they are beneficial in themselves in their sphere in terms of the Chinese, in terms of relaxing one's body. But when you get into all the technicalities where they have to be believing a whole bunch of things in terms of yin and yang and connection to the earth and the sun and the moon and such like, as Christians, we don't subscribe to those things. But as Christians, we should meditate, and the servant of God says we should meditate on the Word of God, not meditate on the sun, the moon, the stars, and the earth. I know there's a new thing called earthing oneself now, where you walk about barefoot and you commune with the earth. But the servant of the Lord talks about earthing as well, where she says about walking about, letting the feet come in contact with the earth is beneficial. But then when you get into the science of what the Chinese are doing, because you know, remember, for everything that God has, there's always a counterfeit. And Satan will use the good things that the servant of the Lord promotes, add a slight twist to it, and then we're out to sea again.
I don't mean that using those things in a negative point of view. I mean that using those things in a positive point of view, in the sense of a person, I used to just know meditation. You can meditate on God's word. You understand? That's a good point of view there. You can do Tai Chi also in the sense of relax the body in a positive point of view, not a negative point of view. we are getting back in the sense of what the Chinese is doing, in the sense of like, depending upon energy from the earth, and energy from this, and energy from the sun, and so on and so forth. That's what they believe in the sense of, in a hidden point of view, you understand? But I look at it as a positive point of view in the sense of using it in a beneficial way.
But we don't have to call it Tai Chi at all. Just call it meditation upon the Word of God. Full stop.
Well, that's the problem I have with Tai Chi. Tai Chi involves the release of energy, spiritual energy, and it has to do with the meditation, which is connected to transcendental meditation. It has to do with connecting to your body and your breathing, and it leads to self-hypnosis. That is attached to also Reiki. Tai Chi and Reiki and transcendental meditation all go together. Some people talk about connecting with your inner self and your body and your breathing and all of that. All of that is, say the least, unprofitable.
Thank you. I hope that in itself gives you the answer. Sister Margaret?
Yes, good evening. I want to thank you, all of you, for your very interesting presentations. But something that, well, Brother Saul said, yes, about fat people, obese people, and persons being unkind, maybe not intentionally, but I don't think that they probably recognize the pain that they cause. Growing up, I was very fat, and I found people to be very unkind. And like what Sister Carmita said, everybody was fat. But my grandmother was a baker, her aunt was a baker, so we just ate a lot of bread, and then we were all fat. And people were very unkind. Children were unkind, adults were unkind, until one day I decided that I had enough of it. So I would not take the school lunch. I would not take the school lunch money. I would not eat until I fell down at school. I fainted. And I think persons do not understand the pain that they cause when they criticize you. You know you're fat. You know you're getting fat. Some persons can handle it. You don't know who can. And I think we have to tread very carefully. So the question is, how, if you see, someone who you love really putting on weight and that kind of thing, how then do you approach them? How do you tell them? How do you talk to them about it so that it can give them the motivation to want to change rather than to demotivate them and make them even get perhaps even bigger?
People who are obese or overweight like to talk about their weight and what they would like to do and what they would, how they would feel. If you engage them in a conversation in terms of weight loss, they will tell you that they're working on it, or they don't like how they feel or look. They would like to get back to there. So they engage in that kind of conversation. What we should not do is try to compare what they were and what they are now. When we do that comparison, it causes them to feel more depressed. With obesity and overweight comes depression. And that is not directly sometimes because of their willful choice. But there's a connection between the mind, the body, the thoughts, the brain, all of it connected, and the immune system. We call it, the Health. Our magazine, I have an article called Psychoneuroimmunology, the connection between the psyche, the mind, the brain, and the body. And it has a section in it that deals with the emotions, how your emotions can shape your brain, how it can affect your thinking, how it can lead to depression, and all of that. And that way depress the immune system as well. So people who are overweight or obese may be prone to depression, and those individuals would need compliments. If they have something on them that is other than the weight that may be matching, you can comment on that. comment on the areas that you see. If you see them, hear that they're making an effort, compliment them, encourage them. Encourage them to wear dresses, especially if they're big, and to wear dresses that have stripes down rather than across. Y'all know the difference there, right? Or when you wear dresses that are across, it makes them shorter and fatter, whereas if they are long, it makes them look a little taller. It kind of balances out in the human eyes the size, all right? And they would welcome you. As a matter of fact, you can even tell them, don't worry about your size, there's more of you to love. One person said they like that, all right? Or they would tell people there's more of me to love in order to distract people. So they like that comment, all right? So there are ways and means that we can use in order to really make people feel encouraged and make them feel better about themselves. Now, all of us want to feel better about ourselves. And it does matter to us what people say about us. It has a tremendous impact upon us, what people say about us, especially if it's significant others in our lives. And if the significant others are not accepting, if they are not validating our feelings, it kind of puts us into a low self-esteem spin. And that is why he said that there are words you can use. Choose your words well. Don't do like some people pretend that you're complimenting them when in fact you're trying to embarrass them. Like one person told another, Jenny, you have a beautiful voice, you know. You can use it to sell fish. That was not a compliment. Especially in the era when people used to pass through the district shouting for fish. All right? So find ways and means and engage the person in discussion so that you will know how they are thinking and how they feel and what they would prefer to be told. That's critically important. That's why that's why they are put in the vulnerable population. Not only in terms of people looking down on them. Some people actually feel that people who are fat are less intelligent. Did you know that? There are people who actually feel that people who are fat or what we call obese or overweight are less intelligent. That is not so. And a lot of people have been embarrassed by the intelligent, obese, and overweight people when they have made their comment. And they're very sensitive and reactionary. There are a lot of characteristics you need to know about that particular group.
All right, so Sister Margaret, my take on this is, to me, most obese people or overweight people want to make a change. So that goes without saying. But it is how you speak to the person that makes a big difference. And if you, as a significant other, let's say a family member, a friend, let's say here at church, we realize, even health focus, there are some persons that come, they're overweight, they're obese, and they want to change. Then we have to seek how we can meet them and how we can help them. Diet might be one thing. They might not know how to prepare low-calorie, wholesome diets. So we have persons like Sister Jenny's and a few others that went to the house of that individual and helped them, show them how to prepare foods that are low-calorie. And they were able to lose some weight, right? Then you have to talk to them about exercise. But rather than telling them what to do, you say, let's go for a walk on mornings, just half hour. And then you go with the person. So it might be a situation where a husband and a wife can go walking together. I would hate my husband to be saying to me all the time, you're getting real fat. What he can say to me is, love, let me get up and go down to the beach and walk and swim, right? Or even go on the steps. But I would much prefer that because I would see that he is helping me to reduce my weight than rather telling me about it every time we look around, he's telling me about it. So the important thing is to involve some significant others, whether it's your church family, whether it is your spouse, whether it is your daughter or, your son, whoever it is, whether it's your next door neighbor or friend. Because even when I go walking on mornings, I would see 3 and 4 of my neighbors coming back together. Say, you just miss your husband. You know, he just down the road because he walks really early. But the important thing is to be there for the person and to encourage the person rather than just reminding them constantly. Because you know you want to change, but you're struggling with the change. Even in terms of diet, you know, eat wholesome foods. If we eat together, what we would do sometimes at night is my husband would cut up some apple and some melon and whatever, and he would bring it, and we would eat the fruit together. All right? So you know, you rather than eating bread or eating anything, you're just having some fruit. And you're having it together, and you're quite satisfied, but you're doing something together. So I think that is key. If you know the person is struggling with weight or with any particular habit, you try to work with them to encourage them and move them forward.
I have been the subject of a lot of laughter and teasing and bullying, even at church. Because teasing is a form of bullying. Yeah? I've been the subject of a lot of that. Somebody asked, one person asked me, will you buy them shirts from with the bulge? You know, it's that you have to be strong to laugh it off or turn it into a joke or something like it. You have to be strong to do that. If you're an extroverted type personality and you can ignore it and so on, but not everybody can handle it. And the thing is, even though I might have been trying hard, I mean, I started to pack on this weight when I became a counselor. It is from that point that I started to put on weight. I was a teacher, standing up teaching, up and down, walking, moving from class to class. But the moment I became a counselor, I sat down at the desk, dealing with case after case after case. And then when I want to get up to go, another body at the door waiting. So I started exercise in the morning and try to balance. And then one year, in December, I weighed 208. July, and I exercise and try to regulate. And when I weighed in December again, it was 208.6. So that means that between July and December, I had only added 0.6 of a pound. And the thing is, even when you're losing weight, there are still some people who didn't see you before who comment on it, on what you were. None of us here, as far as I know, are the same size that we were when this movement started. Do you have anybody like that here? All of us have added. And there are people who would have told me then, when I had a small size, don't turn at the side or nobody may not see you. You were slim, but you were young too. As you got older, the metabolism slowed down, and you are more into a certain type of job, so you put on, and then it's hard to burn it off. So I exercise regardless of what others were saying, and I still exercise up to now. Because as I said, exercise more for the brain, the mind and brain than for the body. And the body was supposed to reap the benefits of it. But in time, you will see changes and results from the paradigm shift. Thank you.
In addressing this question by Sister Margaret, you spoke about the fact that your mother was a baker and this body was a baker as well. And they ate a lot of bread and such like. So it became the inevitable that everybody was going to be because they were eating a lot of starchy foods. That's an environmental factor that what Sister Carmela spoke about. The saying goes that birds of a feather flock together. I remembered I started an exercise class at my school because everybody was always talking about in the past when the school was first younger, how they used to exercise together, and now the other guy who used to exercise them is gone. Well, they all slumbered and slept. And they asked me to start back, so I started going and taking everybody around the garrison on evenings. And the ladies will come out, and they will be pretty consistent. And I'll tell you one thing about exercise. When you can get something to do better and better each time, it makes you feel fussy to go again. Well, one of the shoots to take about 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes to walk one lap around the garrison. And that was 1.1 kilometer around the area they walked. The next week she came and she did it in about 9.5 minutes. The next week she came and she was doing it in 7.5. Every time till, me now, I was doing mine like 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes to do mine. And then when I started running, I could do it in a little less. And when she found out I could not lap her after a while, she felt really good about what she was doing. But then, you know, it usually happens, people relapse. You have a break like for the Christmas holidays, and it is extremely difficult to start back after Christmas. So the lapsing is the problem. I had a group up here at the church, and everything was going really, really fine. We had a large group of persons, but then everybody started to lapse as well. There are some people who, when they get to the desired goal that they had in mind at the beginning, they stop. I have a lady at home who trains with me every morning. For a whole year and a half, she was coming consistently to the point where she was at my door every day, and my wife wanted with it. She can't stay at home. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But then when she got to her desired goal, and she got to her desired weight, and everybody was spraying her compliments, then they would miss her. Oh, I slept down, I got in late, blah, blah, blah. To the point where she comes 2 or 3 days a week because to her, she has reached her goal. There's no need to, as she would call it, train so hard. So she has stopped. Or she comes less consistently. There's a guy that I know, a colleague of mine. None of you all in here are his size. And he wants to make a change in his life. He wants to lose weight. So he approached me and asked me if he can train with me. I told him he's free to come to my house, he's free to use my weights, the treadmill, everything, and he will come. But afterward, he stopped. Then he came with a lady. That's another environmental factor. Women, you can get behind the men to get them to change. Men like to be impressed by what you say. And he was encouraged to come with a lady. After a while, because the lady was pushing more weight than he would, he stopped. The lady continued. And his weight started to pile on again. And he asked me to formulate a plan for him where he can still eat some of his favorite foods like pudding and sauce and pigtail and cut out the rest of things. But I told him I could not formulate a plan with pudding and sauce and pigtail every Saturday and during the week sometimes. And I could not effect any change in his life. But then a young lady appeared who he was attracted to, and that got him motivated. So you see how women can play a part in helping you men to get into shape. And he became very, very consistent to the point where he started using the treadmill a lot, working out really hard, and change was effected in him for that time period he was attracted to that person. That had the attraction continued, he would have been still doing it, but that fizzed after a while because as Sister Carmela said and Brother Saul said, you must be consistent with the person. Consistency was lost there after a while, so he relapsed yet again. But he still wants to lose weight, and we are still working with him. However, like most people, you need a motivating factor. That's why you always say gyms are a fantastic place. You have people who have a similar goal in mind, associating together at a particular time, who want to effect a change in their bodies. And as a result, we call one another. What time you coming in? You come in for 4:30 or 5, or I can make sure you get there for 5. And you have a group of people working out together, laughing, sweating, doing things together, and therefore change is effected. However, if you have to try to do it by yourself, it's a bit difficult because most people are not self-motivated.
Thank you. And Brother Peter is next. Peter, you can use the other mic just ahead of you. Change mics.
Okay. Good afternoon. I was just sitting down listening, and I find that exercise, you can lose weight in exercise, but you don't get to what you need to achieve by exercise only. And we have a message in calorie restriction which has come to us, and I find that a combination of understanding the effect of calorie and portion sizes in conjunction with exercise is the optimum means of getting to what I would consider your optimum weight or your optimum shape and size. Because there are people who exercise but still eat large portions of carbohydrates and so on. And they don't, and it can be fairly discouraging because you're exercising, you're eating as you're accustomed eating, and you end up not really losing any significant portion of your weight. So you have to combine both of them as a means by which you can achieve lasting solutions to a weight problem. Because you know you can exercise 5 days a week regularly, but you're still going home, you're eating a lot of bread, a lot of biscuits, a lot of rice, you're eating late at night, and you're still doing the same things that causes the weight to pile on, and therefore you don't achieve, and you become frustrated in that process. So I just think that there needs to be a balance when you're discussing with anybody about weight gain or weight loss. They have to understand that there are things they can full, and the thing I like about the calorie restriction is that you get a full belly. The full belly is a very pleasing thing. You know, when you're accustomed to getting your belly full, it's a very pleasing thing. And you can eat and get a lovely full belly, but still the calories can be fairly low. And when you get a full belly, and you're comfortable and your belly feels full, and you know that your belly feels full, but at the same time, you can reduce your size if you combine the things properly. So that's just a statement.
Just to make a quick comment on that, Brother Peter, that's a very good point. And on the whole, we really eat too much. I remember when I went to Jamaica to study and I came back, and I was sharing with the church the quantity size. Persons were like, really? Because when you look at nutrition, the amount of quantity that you need in your body is minimum. We eat about 10 times the amount of food that we need in our body. But we just want to feel as though we are satisfied. But really and truly, you're talking about full belly. You don't need to have a full belly. Once you take small amounts, you can have a small cup of herbal tea after, and you would realize that's how the Chinese and the Japanese do it, that keep the weight down, not the ones that try to be fighters and try to build up their weight. But just a little herbal tea at the end of a small portion would make you feel satisfied. Even on mornings, if you have a cup of herbal tea, you find that you feel satisfied until about lunchtime or whatever. Sometimes if you eat a lot and don't have something warm or herbal tea, you don't feel as though you're totally satisfied. So it really depends on understanding, you know, your body and not wanting to get a belly full, in other words. And we've been there's all to do with environment. We come up raised on a big plate of food. And especially if there's a wedding. Remember the early days? Y'all remember the early days of the weddings? When you had Brother Jerry and these fellas with the mountains of food. And the more people you have eating, if we have luncheons too, the more food you consume. Because everybody's trying to outdo the other person. So really and truly, we have now to satisfy ourselves that with our knowledge and wisdom, we have small quantities. I even had to learn it the hard way, I would say, because what I thought was small quantity, when I went to the functions with the UN and these other people, and I looked at their plates, they were eating a third of the amount that I was eating. So I would feel very embarrassed, so I would make sure I cut back on my quantities too. And that is how those people maintain their weight. They would exercise, but they would eat small portions.
You can actually educate your stomach to require a certain amount of food. I didn't know that. I had to learn. But we grew up eating a lot and going for seconds. What that does is it extends the stomach, and then the stomach, after a while, requires that amount in order for the thermostat to operate, that is to shut off. Because our brains, we are wonderfully made. We have a thermostat that regulates temperature. We have an apostat. I said thermostat, there's no apostat, it's to be apostat. Apostat and a photostat in the brain. The apostat regulates the appetite. And you can actually accustom yourself to taking in large quantities, and the body can actually be trained only to be satisfied when it receives a certain amount. I remember I was at like Bears camp meeting, and Dr. Trash said that the amount of food you should be eating is the size of a liter, should be the size of a liter. I asked, how much is a liter? Dr. Trash. Well, back then I wasn't eating a lot, but you wonder if her real name was Trash. But that was a lot. I was considering that a lot at the time. But as I said, you can actually educate your stomach to require that amount by constant practice. Because our bodies are very, very intelligent and very, very sensitive. And the Spirit of Prophecy said that there's a delicate, intimate connection between the mind and the body. If, for example, you have a pain in your stomach pain, the stomach sends to the brain for help. The brain releases a vigor to assist the stomach, but it's a vigor that the brain will never receive again. That's in the book, Counsels on Diets and Foods. So you lose some vigor from the brain, which is mind power, as a result of trying to settle a stomach problem. So these organs of ours are very delicate and very sensitive. I was reading an article here. Well, there's a lot of connection. The way the mind works. There was a young lady who was raped a particular April. And she was choked and raped. And every April, this client would complain of a choking sensation. Yeah? This is a reality. One doctor testified to that too, with his particular client. Dr. Dudley would have mentioned making banana bread for his brother, and then after the brother ate it and enjoyed it and then was gone, then some facetious person told him, did you know the bread that was eaten was banana bread? And then he started to nauseate or, feel nauseous. But that is the delicate connection between the mind and the body organ. Based on your thinking, your feelings, your emotion, and all of those go together, intimately connected. Is important.
Okay, I think it's about soon time to wrap up. But before I do so, there's some young men in our audience, and young teenagers, adolescents, have a tendency to eat a lot of food. Now, my question, young men, do you all have any questions y'all want to ask about anything that was discussed this afternoon? But my question is, because I have a young son who eats the most in the house. So, and he usually tell me, Mommy, I going in the gym. Mommy, I just run 2 hours playing football. Is there any truth to that he must eat more? Or is it gluttony?
Actually, there is truth that you have to eat more, because little Azrael trying to build muscle. So if you want to build, you got to eat more. And not only that, the amount that you're expending, the energy that you're expending as an adolescent, as a young person, you could afford to eat a bit more. Now, as we get older, we still want to continue to eat the more as the young people who are extending all the energy. And really and truly, if we are working behind a computer or whatever, we're not extending that level of energy. So we need to reduce the amount that we're eating according to the energy that we're putting out. So that is important. But once you eat more of the right foods, when you're very, very young and extending a lot of energy, there's nothing wrong with that. But you still don't want to eat more of the fast, fatty foods, which can still build on your arteries. Then you will have issues. Because young people at that age, you're paving your way for chronic diseases later in life when you reach 40 or so. So it depends on what you're eating more of. If you're eating more of high sugary foods, high fatty foods, salty foods, then by the time you reach 40, you might have prostate cancer, you might have diabetes, you might have hypertension. But if you're eating wholesome foods, then there's nothing wrong with that. So it depends on what you're eating, okay?
For those who follow bodybuilding and who follow the products that they use from time to time, and this is how the scenario goes. In the off-season, when bodybuilders want to bulk up and they buy a protein powder, if you read the label, you will see that for every serving of the protein powder that bodybuilder takes, it's about 40, 50, 60 grams of sugar per serving. Now, the more sugar you use, the bigger you get. And that's a known fact. So since the nutritional persons who make these products know that, they tend to put the mass gainer powders and such like, they fill them with sugar, of all kinds of sugar. And they usually use something called high fructose corn syrup, which has been known to cause havoc in the body. Even in all the energy bars that we like to buy from time to time, even as simple as the granola bar that we think is so healthy, if you read the label, you will see that they have sugar from some 6 different sources. And most of them, if not all of them, are bad for your health. It puts on weight on you. You get energy, yes, but you put on weight. Then when it is time for the bodybuilder leading up to competition, they switch to a different protein powder, call it a lean muscle gaining powder. And one serving might be the same size scoop, but there's only 1 gram of sugar in that serving. Because the nutritional persons, the nutritional companies know that the more sugar you use, the bigger you get. Now, when a person is young, like Azrael and those, and you are exercising vigorously, you tend to be able to burn up the food rather quickly. So like Zachary eats spaghetti and look like the spaghetti still. Azrael, the same thing, might eat macaroni and such like. But when you get like Brother Saul and myself and Brother Duggan, we can't eat that stuff. Metabolic rate has slowed down, and we have to do things to speed it up. Because with aging comes the slowing down of one's metabolic rate, unless you do something to speed it up. Well, you young people have to do absolutely nothing, and your metabolic rate is fast. However, we have children at school, in primary school where I am, who are over 100 pounds easily, and they're only in class 1 or class 2, right? And the parents are saying they're young, they're going to burn it off. But the evidence is right there in front of you. They're very big, so they're not burning off. They're not getting enough exercise. But as Sister Carmen said, if you are getting adequate amounts of exercise, you will be able to burn up the food. Now, if I want to gain size, my weight has gone up since my running time 2 years ago. I'm now 240. When I was running, I was 212. How did I gain that weight? By using smaller portions of food and tend to eat it a little more frequently. Every 3 or 4 hours, you eat a small portion of food. And it is more protein-based than carbohydrate-based. So if you want to gain size, you increase your protein amounts and you will gain more muscle. But if you want to gain fat, you increase your carbohydrate amount and you will gain bulk, as we call it, which is really fat.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take one last question that's from Elder Newton, and I want to encourage those persons who are here. Tomorrow is Health Day, so we need you to stay behind. Just give us a half hour to help us prepare downstairs and get things in order. So, Elder Newton?
Yeah, good evening. I want to encourage Dr. Douglas to continue what he's doing. I understand he's cutting up fruit for his wife at night, and he and she are eating it together. It's a good thing. Camp is coming up, so so Dr. Douglas, I hope you are getting ready to organize some good morning walks and so on for the campers. and getting ready. Now, I like to make sure I get to the root of things and understand them properly. So where Steve's exercise program is concerned, I am thinking, as I observed it, the program began to shut down when the sun began to set early, Brother Steve. It was going good like now, so at this time of the year, long evenings, people will come up, but as soon as it get down to late November and December, that was when it shut down. It had anything to do with people lapsing. The time of the year was a critical factor. The issue that Sister Margaret raised, now, we're telling people their fat is concerned. You can't get a cure unless you diagnose the problem. And I hear nowadays people are saying you shouldn't tell people they're fat, you shouldn't tell people that being that homosexual intercourse is wrong. You shouldn't tell anybody anything is wrong. But you can't get a solution without identifying the problem. And I think the issue there with Sister Margaret's case is not that it was wrong to tell her, look, you're getting fat, but I think people were not educated enough on how to deal with the problem. So I think Sister Carmita made a good point. You shouldn't only say, well, this is wrong, people, you're getting fat, but we need to be able to help people get through the problem, provide solutions. And my last point is that, again, I'm hearing you're telling people now, don't eat bread, don't eat rice, don't eat, because these things contain carbohydrates and they get you fat. No, I think that's a bad answer, because we need still to eat from the different food groups, but I think the issue is an overall program of a proper diet, all-round good nutritious diet, cutting down on excess, but including various things, and combined with a program of exercise and good rest and sleep and water consumption and so on, the whole package. But to tell people now that don't eat rice, don't eat bread, don't eat this, somehow now they won't be able to eat anything, but they must eat. But the thing is, a good all-round diet, bringing them more towards what we call the health diet and a good exercise program and so on. And I think these are ways that we can better help people. Thank you very much.
All right, Brother Newton, I just wanted to make a comment. You made some good points. Every year, or almost every year, we put out a health magazine or a recipe book. I'm not sure how many persons here actually look at the recipes and try some of the recipes. When you think about time, some people might say, oh, I don't have the time. But what a lot of people do when they want to try recipes is they have a lot of these Ziploc small containers. You can actually buy all different sizes, and you can try the recipe, and you can parcel them off in these Ziploc containers, put them in the freezer, put them in your fridge, and then just take them out when it's time for lunch, warm it, and take it for lunch. But our people have to be industrious enough to know that these are things we can do. I remember last year, Sister Tanya, she went to great lengths to prepare a lot of gluten-free recipes, that we could have tried. And then in this magazine, again this year, we have a lot of innovative recipes that you can also try. But you have to make sure that you organize yourself. This is all about behavior change, too. Yes. You change from just coming in and having the fast, quick thing or picking up something to taking time to decide, okay, I'm going to spend an hour and prepare a good, wholesome meal, parcel it off into containers, and then for 3 days, I will have different things to eat because they're frozen and you can just warm it up. So these are things that we can think about doing. The magazine is not just for the visitors, it's for the entire church. So I'm hoping that persons can have one. Actually, I have in my drawer with my recipes, magazines for all the different years. So I can just pull out and try a recipe.
Right.
So that's something you can do.
Right. And Sister Flora has a few recipes I think are into the magazine. I also have a new recipe now for using tomatoes. When tomatoes are plentiful, I have a recipe for using them as well.
Okay, so thank you very much. I want
tomato stew.
Oh, so I want to thank everyone for their participation here this evening, the panelists, and also those persons who would have made comments and asked a question. I see that there is a late hand. You would, yes, very short, and then cut it short in righteousness.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I was just noting that in Sister Douglas' presentation, she talked about change taking time. And I think that's something that we need to understand, the time factor, both in change and in establishing or doing whatever it is we do. If we're talking about people being obese, overweight, it took time to get there. And you're not going to change it by going to the gym for 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months. It's going to take time to do it. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, that we somehow seem to think we've become an instant age generation. Instant tea, you turn on the TV and it comes on instantly. Everything is instant. You're not going to make any changes by simply going down the road. 5 minutes later, it's done. And I think that's something that we need to understand. The other thing is, most of the things and most of the reasons why we're having problems is because we do not have relationships. And in the absence of proper relationships, people then find all kinds of substitutes. Eating is one of them. People indulging in deviant behaviors, drug taking, all these things. These are a result of poor or inappropriate relationships. We raise our children, and when we raise our children, the children are fed a study diet of the television becomes a babysitter and a catch-all. The parents are someplace else. We turn our children loose to do things, them and their friends. So there's really no connections. So we don't teach them. There are a lot of things that we used to do many years ago. We don't do them. We haven't passed them on to our generations. And then we complain about all these different things. And if we recognize that we have to put some time in. In the book of Deuteronomy, it talks about doing these things with our children, with our families. It says when you stand up, when you lie down, when you walk by the way, whatever you do. There was a song when I was at school that says, whenever there's a man doing something, there's always a boy looking on. Again, back in Scripture where it talks about the older women teaching the younger women how to be good wives and how to be whatever. We have to understand this so that these quick all solutions, the 30-second sound bites, it does not work. And time has shown consistently that this is what has happened. And until we arrive at a situation where we recognize these factors and that we then, because we have to start in terms of long-term solutions. So I want to thank Brother Saul for some of the stuff that he's doing and the examples that he spoke about. And one of the things as I sit down, when we talk, Sister Margaret, we talk about people being unkind. We have to understand there's a significant difference between information and nagging. And too often, we nag as opposed to supplying information which is helpful to the person. So telling somebody you're fat and you're ugly and all this thing, that is not motivating. That is destructive. The Bible says, speak the truth, but speak it in love. And if we spoke the truth in love, many times we will recognize that sometimes the things we say are more destructive and hurtful than anything else. And my father always said, if you can't say something nice to somebody, then it's best to keep your mouth shut and let it go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are out of time. And indeed, I think that this evening's production was very informative. It also touched on some key elements in which we need to engage ourselves in. We know it is very difficult, as was said earlier, for change. However, if we have a trust in God, which, as Sister Carmita highlighted, is we can develop that and we can go on to have a good self-efficacy, which would allow us to change. And we must have some very strong faith in order that we can do so. And most of all, as was highlighted by Brother Cyrus and Brother Saul, we must have a very good and strong social support. I know sometimes people say, oh, me, I'm a loner, I like to be by myself, I can walk by myself. But it is proven that when you have a good social support, be it from family, friends, or otherwise, you are more liable to stick to your task at hand because you have a motivator alongside with you. And the Bible talks about going in twos, because if the weaker one falls, you have the stronger one to say, well, look, you didn't go yesterday morning. Come, let's go tomorrow. And I know that that is my downfall. My husband have been encouraging me, but he have not been able to pick up that momentum. However, I will endeavor by the grace of God to improve in that area. And also, if we want to look at the life of Jesus, Luke 2:52 say that Jesus increased in what? In wisdom. What else? Stature. And what else? And in favor with God and man. He was a very sociable person. And he was able to encourage those persons who were weak in faith. And we know that when we have that faith in Jesus, that also can serve to encourage us. So we want to encourage each and every one of you out there this evening to encourage someone, be supportive. And we understand that, yes, Elder Newton, you must speak the truth, but there is also a right way to speak the truth. I thank you, and I'm going to ask Elder Leacock to close us off in prayer.
Let us pray. Our gracious God and Father, we thank you for this session today, both morning and evening. We thank you for what you have shared. Knowledge is important, but our attitude towards the knowledge is more important. May we have the right motivation for change, else we will have a relapse. If we are not motivated by your love, by a desire to please you and not impress others or even you, we shall end up being the loser. Guide and direct us. May this evening your spirit touch some heart to see the importance of experiencing that paradigm shift in their health, awareness, and consciousness. And may they truly make the necessary changes by setting their will and making correct choices so that behavior change can result. Give us the encouragement of your spirit. May we be motivated by that spirit. And may you bring forth your fruits in and through us. Thank you for teaching us this evening. Guide us by your spirit and prepare us as health reformers to stand for the right, though the heavens fall. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen.